Scary thoughts with Yes Prime Minister in an hour here on BBC Two. First, talking scary, how do you ask a fiercely protective lioness mum if you can vaccinate her cub?
Hello and welcome to Animal Park. I'm Ben Fogel.
And I'm Kate Humble, and we're on the grand staircase here at Longleat House. Last year, over 300,000 visitors came to visit the ancestral home of the Marquess of Bath and to see the fabulous treasures that it contains.
We'll be bringing you stories from the house, the safari park and the estate throughout the series.
Here's what's coming up on today's programme.
Mum goes ballistic when it's time to give the youngest cub her injections.
Down in Pet's Corner, the otters have had babies, and Darren is bursting to spread the news.
You can tell by the big cheesy grin, can't you? Yeah, that means I won the lottery or there's something even better.
But it's a different story for Babs, the elderly rhino. She's taken a turn for the worse.
She's lost a lot of strength in her back legs, so much so that she kind of collapses. She, does that frequently. That's going to be pretty painful and pretty distressing for her, I think.
But now we're going up to the Lion House, where last month Luna gave birth to 3 cubs. Sadly, 2 of them were found dead within the first couple of days. It's not unusual. In the wild, only 1 in 5 cubs survive into adulthood, and this was Luna's first litter. But she still has one. It's a little girl, and this was always the strongest cub. She's now 6 weeks old, and keeper Bob Trollope is delighted with her progress.
As you can see, Cubby, which we haven't got a name for yet, is getting bigger. Mum's as grumpy as ever, which is really good because, that's what you want her to be doing. You want her to sort of see us off every time we come in, which is really good. She's doing everything that we would expect her to do. She's finding her voice a little bit more now. To tell you the truth, to start with, she's a little bit slow on the uptake. When we were moving them from pen to pen just so we could tidy up, she has this problem with following Mum. She doesn't want to do it. So on a few occasions we've had to sort of go in there and pick her up and put her in, which is fine when they're small, but when they start to get a bit more adventurous and the teeth and claws are get a bit sharper, it's not so nice.
It may not be nice, but today it's got to be done. The time has come for the cub to be given the first round of her inoculations. Just like our domestic cats, these lions need protection against a number of killer diseases. Vet Duncan Williams is here to give the injection, while Craig Faggoter is the keeper who's been volunteered to go in first. He knows what to do.
Basically just go in there, don't hesitate, and just grab it. And you just make sure you don't get your hands caught. Hands in the way from the sharp end. They can turn on you quite quickly, so you've got to make sure you got a good grip. If you haven't, you are going to get hurt.
Now Duncan can give the injection. This one's for cat flu, which is particularly dangerous to the very young.
We will have to repeat it in a couple of weeks' time, just the same as you do with an ordinary kitten, so that, boosts immunity.
The cub also needs a dose of worming solution. The cub doesn't seem too upset, but Mum is furious. However, the whole operation is over in less than a minute, so Luna can be let back with her baby in no time. Brian Kent, the keeper in charge, is very happy with how she's behaved.
Luna's very good, Mum, yeah. Doing everything well, looking after the cub brilliantly, no problem. She's bound to be a bit stressed because you get her up from the cub, so, it's going to be like that. But, we do it as quick as we can.
At the moment, the whole family is being kept separately, but in adjacent pens. With the cubs so young, it could be dangerous to let Kabir, the father, get too close. Brian reckons this arrangement is fine with him.
Dad, he's a bit of a wuss, I think. Cub comes running up and he'll run off. So I don't know why, but I don't know. Typical male, I suppose.
On the other side of Kabir is the other female of his pride, Yendi, who is Luna's sister. She also has a new cub, though this one is 2 months older. She's another girl and has been named Malaika, which means angel in Swahili. Soon the time will come to unite the whole family, though Bob knows that that could be a difficult day.
Really and truly, the first time they go out is, I always think, is the worst time for us, because you don't know what's going to happen. There's always that possibility that they might get in a way of a bit of a scuffle or whatever and get hurt. And that's always the worst time. You know, once they've been out for a few times and they know their little escape routes and where they've got to run to, they'll be fine. It's all part of the learning process, isn't it? You know, I should imagine Luna will be very good at protecting them.
Later in the series, we'll be there to see what happens when the family meet for the first time out in the open. But for now, Bob is in no rush for his new babies to grow up too fast.
This is great fun. You know, I love coming in here and just watching the cubs. And to have a nice little family unit, this is a new pride starting. And, you know, what we set out to do. Kabir has come in, he's done his stuff, he's proven himself. And let's hope we can have many more cubs.
It's been a number of years now since Longleat's herd of pygmy goats had any kids. The problem is that there's no red-blooded male here. So, a few months ago, arrangements were made to borrow a billy. His name was John Joe. He came from Glamorgan, and he's every inch a stud. Little passion, it was time for John Joe to move on to pastures new. Now I've come to meet senior keeper Bev Evans to find out about the consequences.
So, obviously, you're looking for distended bellies, which a few of them, especially that one there.
Yes, Ali is slightly, round.
And
The udder, the teats underneath, getting a bit more like. Oh, we have 7 girls, but we have our 3 boys as well.
Right.
So proper dogs.
Here.
They're castrated males. About 6 years ago, we decided to stop breeding here at Longleat, just because our numbers were just getting just too much.
Right.
But since then, we've decided, we've only got 10. We'll just, and they're getting older. So we'll just increase the numbers a bit.
So potentially, how many could each goat have if they were pregnant?
Right. Normally it's a single one, but twins is not uncommon, and sometimes triplets as well. So
really?
Say 7 females, we could have at least 14 kids here.
Which, added to the 10 you've already got, could bring you up to 24 or so. That's a lot of pygmy goats.
It's a lot of goats.
And I have to ask about the colours. Obviously, there's a complete mix here.
Yeah.
We've got the white ones and the darker ones and the speckled ones. Will you have a complete variety of colours once again?
We hope so. The billy goat we brought in, John Joe, he's a tricoloured, and hopefully, genetically, he'll be able to throw us a few colours. Yeah, definitely.
So if you haven't done this for 6 years,
Yes.
is this a whole new thing for you in particular?
Yes, sure, it is, yeah. But I'm hoping it'll go fine. They normally have a very good natural birth.
Mm-hmm.
There has been things in the past where, emergency caesareans are needed just because of their small frame, really.
Right.
But what we've tried to do is keep their weight off, so the baby's quite small, so hopefully it should go fine.
And will you have to adapt their diet at all? Will you have to...
Find out soon if they are really pregnant or not, and then probably just up their diet just before, some concentrated nuts and things like that, and also certainly afterwards when they're lactating as well.
And what is the gestation period for a goat?
It's only 5 months, so it's not long at all.
OK. Do you think there's any likelihood that you may have to hand rear any of them?
Possibly, if they have, one has triplets, you might have to supplement the 3rd baby. So, yeah, possibly, but we would like not to, really, to be honest.
Of course, leave it all natural.
Very true.
Fingers crossed it all goes well.
Thank you.
And, of course, we'll keep you posted on the progress of the pygmy goats.
Last year, in Pet's Corner, Romeo was brought in as a new mate for Rosie, the Asian short-clawed otter. Now something wonderful has happened, and the keeper in charge, Darren Beasley, is over the moon.
Some great news down here at Pet School. You can tell by the big cheesy grin, can't you? Yeah, that means I won the lottery, or there's something even better. After, I don't know, over 30 years of waiting, we've at last got some baby otters again in Pet's Corner. In fact, Mum and Dad have just poked their head out. I bet you can't see. They've just come out to see. They've obviously heard our voice. This is really great news, because what's been happening is little Romeo's been taking the food into Mum. And she's been looking after the baby. She's been in there nursing them, giving them milk. And now I'm so excited. They've both started coming out for some food, which means that the babies are hopefully developing nicely, and they feel braver enough to leave them.
Despite Darren's excitement, the truth is that no one has actually seen the otter pups yet. They don't even know how many there are. Otters are born blind, and the parents keep them safely tucked away inside the den for the first few weeks of life. The keepers mustn't disturb the babies, because if they're contaminated with human scents, it could cause the parents to abandon or even kill the pups. So Rob Savin needs to be very careful when he cleans the house.
We think there might be 3 because it's just really an educated guess. They're supposed to have between 2 and 6 young. It has been known for them to have 7 at one time, but it's normal for them to have 3 or 4.
In the hope of getting a first peek at the new babies, Darren strapped his camcorder to a beam overlooking the den. He turned it on and then left it to record to the end of the tape. It's a hit-and-miss method, and the red colour is from the heat lamp that keeps the place cosy.
The problem is we don't actually want to go in there with them and disturb them, because they're so precious. We don't want Mum and Dad running off and leaving them and not giving them any milk. This is a big breakthrough. I say we've waited 30 years to have baby otters here again, and I'm so proud and chuffed that it's happened, but I would love to know how many down in there. Not a great deal of movement going on. We might just have to let the camera carry on running and put it in, but I'll have to watch it on fast forward, because 4 hours of a board and a nice warm night house is not exactly prime time evening viewing for me.
In fact, Darren's spy camera never did catch any sneak previews, and everyone just had to wait. We'll be back later when Rosie and Romeo are ready to show us the first baby otters at Longleat in over 30 years.
While Longleat is famous for its exotic species, there are also plenty of more familiar animals here. The estate includes a number of working farms, and for centuries the open parkland has been grazed by sheep. Right now, the farmers are getting ready for the lambing season.
We're out in the park with sheep farmers Simon Baggs and Steve Crossman, and you've gathered all the sheep in here, Simon.
Yeah.
What's the plan today?
The plan is we're going to take the triplets out and take them back down to the other farm and leave the singles and the twins here.
But they're all adults. What do you mean triplets?
Yeah, well, sorry, we have them scanned in January.
Right.
And the triplets are green, marked green on their backs. The twins are blue.
Right.
And the singles are red.
So these are all expectant ewes.
Yes.
You know exactly what's
in them.
in all of them.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do now to help?
If Steve and Ben go down the bottom to the other pen, and then we could, if they bring them up, and we'll sort them out.
Okay.
So we're going to basically herd them.
Yeah, bring them back up.
All right, it's going to be like a sheepdog.
Okay. So Steve, presumably we're going to use all of the different gates that are here to sort of shuffle them through.
Yeah, we're going through into this gate a minute here.
Okay, have you any idea how many are in here? This must be...
I would say there's a couple of hundred in here at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've all been scanned, and that basically involves... It's like a woman that's pregnant, is it?
Exactly the same. It's an ultra-scan.
Yeah.
They come in, they've got a specialist a crate set up that they run through. The chap sits in there, he scans the sheep, and he then marks them according to what's inside them.
So that's the colours. The sheep triplets are coloured.
Twins and red are singles.
Right. Presumably they're expecting relatively soon.
We don't really want to put them under too much stress.
And that one?
All the reds are the twins and the reds are the singles.
Okay, so why is it only the triplets that you're taking out? Oh, here's a green coming. Oh, my word. So I've got to change the
lamb.
Okay.
So then, yeah, basically...
It's quite stressful, this.
It is, yeah. Basically, we're bringing them in, the triplets, because obviously we lamb outside.
Right.
So it's better to have them in because we can foster on to ewes that have only got one.
Oh, okay, so you won't allow one sheep to look after three. There's a green.
You can do, but it's better to, if you've got some singles, it's better to let you have another lamb and have twins on her.
Right. And presumably it's better for the lambs too,
yes.
is it?
Yeah, that's right, because you've only got 2 udders.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's better to... Hold on.
That's a blue.
It's better to...
There's a green coming, green coming. Go on. Ah! Yeah. Can't see any more greens.
No more green. Oh, here's one coming now.
OK. That's it. Here you go. That's the lot.
That's the lot.
Wow. So now, thank you very much for filtering them through.
Enjoyed that.
And let's hope that the lambing season goes very well.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
While for many of the animals of Longleat, new life is on the way, for others, it's a different story. Babs, the white rhino, is getting on. In fact, at 37, she's one of the oldest rhinos in the country. The years have caught up with her, and as well as suffering from an uncomfortable skin complaint, she's also plagued by arthritis. It's getting worse and is now causing great pain. Vet Duncan Williams has been monitoring her condition, and what he saw a couple of weeks ago was not encouraging.
Babs, you going to come and say hello? Hey?
Oh, there you go, darling.
She doesn't look very steady at all. She looks very weak.
It's when she turns. Yeah. When she twists, she's certainly in the middle of the week. She was actually collapsing. She was actually bang. She was hitting the deck.
We're doing everything we can. We're nursing her through it, aren't we? We're looking after her best we can. We're not, we're making her life as comfortable as possible and supplement her, try and prevent the arthritis from becoming too serious and just keeping a close eye on her.
It's been a long road for Babs. She was born in 1969 out in the open bush of South Africa. She came to Britain as a youngster and arrived here at Longleat 13 years ago. She was always even-tempered and good-natured, so in recent times when the 3 new youngsters arrived from Africa, she fell right into the role of protective grandma to help them settle in. But the most unique thing about Babs is how much she enjoys contact with her keepers. For Deputy Head Warden Ian Turner, that's something really special.
You're feeling old, aren't you, sweetheart? That's the trouble. And she's got tender bits by her on the skin, see. It's just where she's getting a bit senior citizen age is coming in, I'm afraid. I mean, normally, all this sort of stuff you like, you see she's flinching there, aren't you? And normally, as soon as you call her, she'll come over. And there's a couple of days where she's not even bothered to come over. And that's the sign that keepers look for, which the vet can't see. You can see if she's looking ill, signs of illness, but it's when she's not being a normal self.
But now Babs has taken a turn for the worse. Today, Duncan the vet was called, and he's found her condition badly deteriorated.
She just basically hasn't been herself. She's been very dull, very slow. Her skin, she's got lots of multiple infections, but the main thing that we've found is she's lost a lot of strength in her back legs, so much so that she kind of collapses. She does that frequently, especially if she's turning sharp. It's the sort of thing we can't really let her go on and on and on, because we don't want to come in and find her collapse totally in suffering.
There's now only one way to free Babs from pain. Duncan has just left Head Warden Keith Harris. They had a very difficult decision to make.
It's got to the stage now where she's actually struggling to walk, and she struggles to get up in the morning. So she can't go out with the other rhinos. And, she does, you can see she gets upset when the others go out without her. And we've been able to control the pain up to now, but we don't feel that we can keep doing this, because the pain seems to be outstripping the painkillers. Each day, obviously, through the keepers, we've been monitoring her closely, and then on Duncan's visits, we've been, again, watching her closely. And we've just had a meeting together, and I think it's collectively thought that really she's had enough now, and we've had to take the decision to euthanize her today. At the end of the day, we can't treat old age, I'm afraid. It comes to us all. So I think one of the biggest criteria we try to take is quality of life. We could be selfish and keep her going for our wants and needs, and we have to try and banish those thoughts. And it is very hard, but I think at the end of the day, you know, we can say that we've given her a very good life.
Duncan has been the safari park vet for 8 years, and in that time he's made countless visits to the rhino house. Today will be the last call he'll make on Babs.
Earlier this week I popped in and she had 2 massive grazes on her flank, where I think she must have fallen in the night, fallen against the bars, and you know, that's going to be pretty painful and pretty distressing for her, I think. Really, the bottom line is we don't want her to suffer, so that's why we've made the decision.
So now, to carry out that decision, Babs will be sedated with a dart. Then Duncan will be able to administer a painless overdose of anaesthetic.
Well, the main danger really is, you know, using the Immobilon, because it is very dangerous to humans. The rhino skin is, in parts, it's almost 2 inches thick, and it's very difficult to inject and dart. We should have no trouble getting that into it with a dart gun, which would be powerful enough to fire through, but we just need a very long needle.
But the hardest job falls to Tim Yo, the keeper in charge of the rhinos. He's been caring for Babs for the last 13 years. Now he must fire the sedative dart that will send her off to sleep.
It's not a very nice thing to be doing, but it's, you know, it's got to be done, I think. You've got to go and do something positively and as professionally as you can, but you don't want to do it, you know, you don't want to do this at all. However much you as a person dislike, this is the worst bit of the job.
The team can't put it off any longer. They must do what's best for Babs. We'll be back in the rhino house a little later on.
Of all the world's mammals, almost half of the species are nocturnal. Bats, for example, come out mainly at night. So, to keep Longleat's 15 Egyptian fruit bats happy, they live in an artificial cave that's usually nice and dark. Except when it's time for us to do some work in there.
I've come down to the Bat Cave with an important delivery for Keeper Joe Hawthorne. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Ben.
Now, you're doing an experiment with the bats, is that right?
I am. I'm doing an experiment as part of my coursework at college to identify exactly which foods that the bats prefer.
OK, and presumably the simple way to do that is to put it up.
It is, exactly. On here, basically, we've got all their favourite food.
Right, which is a mixture of
We've
apples.
got the cantaloupe melon, we've got the banana. It's basically coursework over the period of seeing different species, and of course, are my favourites.
I know.
To do anything on bats. Yeah? Yeah, we just leave that here. Right. And what we need to do is actually probably pull it up a little bit.
OK, shall I do that?
If you keep going.
Yep.
Keep going. Yep, back there. That's fine.
I noticed that there was actually a big piece of melon.
A lovely piece here of honeydew melon.
Oh, I have a weakness for honeydew. Where are we going to put that?
If we go and put that on over here, on the platform over here.
Right.
And then, you can take that. And then hopefully we have some very keen members that actually prefer this.
Where shall I put it? Just on here?
Just put it here. Yeah.
OK. And the idea is that they'll...
we'll just let them do their thing, step back, and hopefully the ones that have got this passion for it will come down and have a feed.
So they're obviously just hanging back a little bit. Are we kind of scaring them off by being here?
No, they'll take a while. There you go.
Oh, look,
they're just waiting to see that we've finished hanging up.
You can see the tongue, actually, the one with its little face.
That's for extracting nectar in the wild, and they'll actually extract nectar with that tongue.
They've actually got very sweet little faces when you see it like that.
They really are. They're gorgeous. They are the nicer looking of all the bats, you know. Hence why they're called flying foxes. They have that little fox-like feature there with the long nose and the muzzle, the little round eyes there.
And these incredible wings. So that bat on there is actually using its wing to kind of clasp onto that fruit as well.
They've got 2 hooks on the kind of forebit of their wing there. And you can see that they're really rather long. They'll use those for climbing.
Right.
And use them for, you know, attaching on kind of precarious positions like that.
They don't mind all eating together, do they?
No, not at all. It's a bit of kind of who gets to the canteen first, you know, helps themselves, so...
That's great.
Oh,
look, we've got one over here now.
Ah, there you go.
Look at how he's sort of holding his wing around the whole thing.
Once they've found something, you know, it's like you and me. If you find something you really like, it's kind of, it's mine, you know. You see his ears going there all the time.
They're moving all over the place. What's that?
Listening out for all the other sounds. Bats rely on their hearing more than anything else. So he's listening out for the others. Are they coming to get my piece of melon?
Right.
But no matter what they're doing, whether they're hanging up, eating, feeding, wherever they are, their ears are just going constantly.
Absolutely fascinating, Jo. Thank you very much.
That's
I think
all right.
we should leave them to their fruit salad.
For over 4 centuries, Lord Bath's family has been filling Longleat House with all kinds of treasure. Amongst the lavish trappings of great wealth, there's fine art and exquisite antiques. Many of these are not only priceless, but also quite extraordinary.
When we left Longleat last year, this display case was empty, waiting for its display. I'm here with Claire Mound, head guide here at Longleat, and it is a magnificent display, Claire.
Isn't it wonderful?
It really is. So tell me about these pieces.
These pieces were made for Augustus the Strong of Saxony, and they were part of a big menagerie that Meissen made big animals for his menagerie, and these are just a few of them.
So Meissen was a sort of master porcelain.
They were the first factory that could make white porcelain in Europe.
Right.
And Augustus actually wanted the man who was doing it to make gold, but he managed to come up with white porcelain instead. And they are white, very dramatic, but they cracked because they hadn't mastered the art of firing huge pieces.
Wow.
So they're not because we dropped them.
And I mean, clearly they are huge. I mean, what on earth would you have done with them? Because, you usually get nice little bits of porcelain and put them on your mantelpiece, but there's no way you could get one of those on.
Possibly not in this house. No, we used to display them until quite recently in the very long room upstairs, the saloon. And then a few years ago they were put away and they've been in our Munich room out of sight for some years. Now we've got them on display here.
Now they cause a few problems, I gather, because they're so heavy.
They are very heavy, and they fortunately tested the shelves for weight before they started, because they put big sacks of sand on them, the shelves bent, and...
so if they hadn't tested them, this lot would have just... So it doesn't bear thinking about.
We hope reasonably safe.
Well, it's great to see them here. They are absolutely magnificent. Although I have to say the elephant... little odd anatomy, but
little
strange.
Just
being a bit picky, and a strange sort of watering can for a trunk.
Yes, you could perhaps use him for a dual purpose.
Claire, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate.
We've got lots more coming up on today's programme.
Up in Wolf Wood, the cubs born last year are getting big. We'll find out if they're now eating with the grown-ups.
Keelan the python is a living mystery. He hasn't eaten a thing in over a year.
And we'll be there for the historic moment when Romeo and Rosie finally bring their new babies out for the very first time.
But now we're going back to the Rhino House, where the time has come to do what everyone has been dreading. Babs has been suffering terribly from arthritis. She's in pain, she can't go out, and now she keeps falling over. There's nothing more that vet Duncan Williams can do, so the decision has been taken to put Babs to sleep. The sedative dart. Once the sedative has taken effect, Duncan will administer an overdose of anaesthetic that will stop her heart. Tim covers her eyes to keep her calm. After 13 years, this is the last thing he can do for her. And a moment later, Babs is asleep. Duncan has the anaesthetics ready. It will all be over in just a few seconds.
Yeah, Ray, just hold these two.
It's a peaceful end to her suffering. Staff from all over the park have silently slipped in to pay their last respects.
The breathing stopped, when we put in the third injection there. I was just making sure there's no heartbeat. I think it's safe to say that she's no longer with us.
This is probably the worst part of the whole job. The only thing you can think in the back of your mind is it's for her own good. You still don't want to do it because, we've looked after her for 13 years. She's 37 years old. She was in so much pain, And the thing is with Babs is she likes company. She liked to be stroked, and she was finding that a pain every time you touched her. She was flinching and jumping, and she wasn't happy. And you've got to put that in the back of your mind and think what's best for her.
A lot's gone on the last few seasons up in Wolfwood. In a well-structured wolf pack, it's only the alpha male and the alpha female who are supposed to breed. But for 2 years, a power struggle raged to determine who would be the top dog. And it was only after that issue was finally resolved that the pack became stable enough to raise young. There were 8 cubs last year, born in a den dug under a tree, and we certainly enjoyed watching their progress through the spring and summer. But now, as they approach adulthood, what's happened to the status quo? Pack behaviour is most clear when there's food about.
I'm out in the wolf enclosure with keeper Bob Trollope, and it's feed time, as you can probably gather. Where shall I put this, Bob?
Just up here a bit, Kate. I think that'd be fine just about here.
There?
Yeah.
OK. So they get a sort of whole carcass rather than chunks?
They do. That's all to do with the structure of feed.
Right.
So the pack can maintain that structure.
OK, so we need to get back in now, do we?
We do, yep.
Right, let them come towards us. And the van will pull this back a little bit.
We'll just pull away a little bit and then we can stop and then just watch them.
OK. Now, looking at them, you can't really tell which were last year's cubs.
No, it's very difficult now, and they grow so quickly. What are they, about 10 months old now?
Yeah.
All right, Craig.
Really big, proper wolf pack, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So,
right, mate.
When they come in to feed, that says no one's come in yet, you'd expect dominant male in first?
Well, you would expect so, but quite often Ziva, which is the Amiga animal, does get in there first.
So the Amiga animal is the lowest in the pack?
Is the very lowest. We sometimes think she gets in there quickly to get as much as she can before it gets chased off.
Right.
But then the dominant animals will come in. There she is, just walking by it.
Yeah, she's the one with the floppy ear.
Yeah,
OK.
They're just having a sniff. They always seem to check it out before they go in there, just in case it's going to jump up and fight with them or run off.
Right.
Because they didn't kill it. You know.
No, no.
Just to be careful.
So when you're watching, I mean, how has the dynamic changed in the pack since the cubs came along and obviously now are, to all intents and purposes, adults?
Well, it's changed a bit because they've had to integrate into the older pack.
Right.
So they've had to find their place.
Yeah.
And you do get a bit of squabbling. You'll notice in a minute that when they all get tucked in, there'll be a lot of noise, a lot of biting, a lot of scrapping. But it's all to do with intimidation more than anything.
The dominant male last year was...
2 tips.
2 tips.
Yeah, and he still is the alpha male.
Right, OK. And how can you tell that? I mean, can you tell that from looking at the feed?
Quite often in a huddle like that, yeah, and, you know, you can tell. Look for the tails, and if the tails are high, then that's quite a high-ranking animal. And he will. You can see his tail's right up compared to the others. And also, he will go over and he will intimidate. He will jump on them. He will stand over the top of them.
Right.
And if he's doing his job properly, then they will submit to him. They will cower.
Right. OK. And the way the pack works is that there is always one dominant male and one dominant female.
Yeah, always. And then it works down the ladder to the lowest.
Right. Now, last year, Frida was your top female dog.
Female, yeah.
Again, is there a sign of change this year, or do you think she's still hanging in there?
No, she's still top dog.
Right.
You know, we've just come out of their breeding season where they've been mating.
Yeah.
And she's been doing everything right. She's been intimidating the other females, like Ziva, and there's another young female that is at breeding age. And she's been going around there when there's been any interest by the males with these other ones. She's getting in there and she's actually, you know, laying down the law. Go away, get it. You know, if you're going to breed with me, sort of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a great opportunity, presumably, for you to really study any changing dynamics within the pack.
This ideal time is on feed up, because you actually all see them all at one go. And also to see how well they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And presumably if a wolf isn't feeding or is... I mean, you can see whether they're injured or limping at this particular...
Well, yeah, this is very true. You know, we know that the fact that those two youngsters are subordinates,
right.
so they won't come in until we're right out the way.
Yeah.
They're not going to go in there yet.
It's fantastic to see them. It's amazing. They're all tussling over one small bit. Ziva, a clever girl. She may be only dog. Very much indeed. Great to see them flourishing.
Since there were last otter pups in Pet's Corner. Then, 7 weeks ago, Rosie gave birth deep inside her den. And there the babies stayed, hidden away until now. This is the very first footage taken by the keepers when Rosie and Romeo brought their new family out of the den for the very first time. Darren Beasley is delighted.
We've seen them at last. I know exactly how many there are. There are, in here behind me, 2 baby otters. And looking at the mess, look at this, they put all their shavings in their water bottle. It's disgusting. They're 2 very playful otters as well. They look very healthy. They're like perfect little miniatures of mum and dad. In fact, they've got pink noses, just like mum. So I don't know if they're boys or girls, so I'm just getting a bit excited now. But they're just so wonderful, and they look really healthy. So we know there's 2. I've had a bit of a rummage. I know there's no brothers and sisters squashed or anything horrible under there, so it's all gone well. 2 babies born, 2 babies being reared, perfectly healthy, and 1 happy keeper.
But it was a week before the proud parents went completely public and brought their babies all the way into the outdoor enclosure. Luckily, keeper Rob Savin was there with his camcorder.
Job. They were bringing... Mum was dragging them by the neck. It looked a bit brutal, but Mum was dragging them by the neck and bringing them on out. And they were having a little explore. We were here for hours, just in amazement, really. It was fantastic. And then she'd drag them back in again. So it was almost like, you've had your time outside now, children, you know, time to go in. And they went back in again. But since then, they've been able to sort of leap up themselves. We've helped them out a little bit, and they've been coming out as and when now.
These are Asian short-clawed otters, one of the few species of otter that will naturally live in extended family groups. So there's no reason why the youngsters shouldn't stay here indefinitely. Although both pups appear to be growing normally, Darren spotted a problem. It could be serious.
We've got a little bit of concern about one of our 2 brand spanking new baby otters. We've been delighted to see them out over the last couple of days, but when you look really, really close at them, the back end of one of the babies, where the bottom joins the tail, there's quite a bit of what looks like hair loss or parting of the hair. It might be nothing, but I think it's worth the vet having a look. Certainly all the keepers have had a look, and we all agree it doesn't look right. It could be mum over-grooming. It could be an over-attentive mum. And I've seen her pick them up. She grabs them up by the back of the neck, you know, and off she goes. Perhaps she picked them up by the back end by mistake. But it could be a tick or a parasite, internal parasite. It could be something annoying the baby down there. So we've got to investigate it. We've waited so long to get this right. We want it right. We don't want anything to go wrong now. And we might be new parents over worrying about something that's nothing, really. But I think it's best to get a second opinion. We'll get the vet and let him have a look.
They may be in captivity, but the otters are kept as though they're wild, so it will be difficult to get a closer look.
They're not tame animals. They are, in fact, very, very dangerous. I mean, their teeth and their bite is designed for going through shell and bone, so it's very, very powerful. Will do a human being a lot of damage. So there's the safety of the keepers, but with the babies, if we handle them now, it might ruin all our good work. It might be that they'll smell of humans, that mum and dad will get distressed or upset. It might even be that they begin to accept humans too much, the babies, and become very tame. We don't want any of that. But obviously, like every animal, if need must, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's a rhinoceros or an otter or a little cockroach. Sometimes you do have to handle things for reasons, and we have the system in place that we will grab them and handle them if we have to.
We'll be back when the vet arrives to find out if Darren is being overprotective or if the little pup's problem is something far more serious.
Elsewhere in Pet's Corner is a creature with a rather surprising problem. In fact, it's amazing he's still alive. This is Keelan, the royal python, and he hasn't eaten a single thing in over a year.
I'm with Sarah Clayson. We're in the hothouse at Pets Corner. Sarah, is this normal behaviour for a royal python?
It can happen quite often, actually, yeah, especially because he was donated to us by someone, and when they first get into a new environment, they can take a time to adjust to it. So
and it was nearly a year ago, was it, that he came here?
It was roughly about a year ago now, yeah.
So it's almost like extreme homesickness where you just haven't adapted to your new environment.
Yeah, basically he's getting used to the new kind of heat and the new lighting, and he was in with a new group of snakes as well, so it's just all of those factors that contribute to the fact that he was just a little bit put off of his food, and then it just takes a while to get back into it, basically. And
it amazes me that a snake can actually survive for that long without food. How can they do it?
Well, actually, the royal pythons, they only actually have to eat once a week, whilst when we offer our food. They don't eat that often at all. Because they don't need to eat that often, we do, because we have to burn our food to keep ourselves warm, but obviously snakes are cold-blooded, so they move around their environment to heat themselves up. So they don't actually have to have food that often.
Okay.
And if you've got quite a large snake, they can actually afford to lose a bit of body fat that they've actually stored. But it's when they're a bit smaller that's a bit worrying, because obviously they haven't got the reserves there to use up, so...
Of course. Now, has he got his appetite back?
He has, yeah. We offered him some food, as we normally do every week, about 3 weeks ago. And what actually happened is he struck for the food, but actually missed and got one of our keepers' hands. So, yeah, I know.
He bit someone?
Yeah, he did.
Did he draw blood?
A little bit. I don't think he meant it, though. Basically what it was, royals are really non-aggressive snakes. They're very laid back and very docile. And the keeper put the food down and tried to move him back into his tank because he was kind of coming out of it. And he got a little bit confused. He sensed the heat from our hand and the movement, because they haven't got that great eyesight, and he just went and caught our hand.
You really do think it was just an accident, do you?
I do, yeah. I don't think it was calculated at all.
But perhaps that was what kind of instigated the return of his appetite.
It could have, yeah. It could have very well done. But I think the fact that he struck for it in the first place meant that he was ready to actually have some food.
So if you really do think it was an accident, can I...
Yeah, you can,
Can I hold him?
He's quite good at the moment. He's just wrapped himself into a little ball, so...
I am used to your snakes here in Pets Corner, but they're acting a little bit on even now.
You can share that thought. I think, basically, snakes and other animals, a lot of them only bite if they feel threatened or afraid, and because royals are of the nature that they're very laid back and they don't mind being handled, they've really got no need to bite unless they're really, really provoked. And they don't tend to bite anything that's too big for them to eat, because they see it as just a waste of energy.
And I think I'm probably just a little bit too large for Keelan to eat me. Absolutely fascinating.
Interesting, yeah.
Sarah, shall I pass him back to you?
Take him again.
You are quite sweet, really, I suppose, in a snaky sort of way.
Yeah, he's all right, actually, this one.
Sarah, thank you very much.
That's all right.
It's been a couple of days since Babs had to be put to sleep. Up at the Rhino House, the routine has to go on, though everyone is finding it hard to adjust to the fact that she's no longer here.
In the house, you know, she took up a whole pen. She's got a large rhino. She took up a whole pen, and now it's a big empty space.
I was just doing their feeds now, and I was looking around for Babs' food bucket. I don't know what you're doing, you know, so...
If something kicked off, Babs was always pretty quiet. She'd calm it down pretty quick. She wouldn't let the others go too far. It's going to take a long time for it all to sink in and realise she's not going to be there when you open the door.
But you never replace Babs, no. No, you can't replace her.
She's had an extremely good innings in the wild. Around 15, between 15 and 20, they say, is a very good age for a rhino, you know, because they live quite a rough life out and about. She's done exceptionally, so, you know, we're very pleased along, and on the whole, a very good life here at Longleat.
But this isn't the end of everything in the Rhino House. For Ian Turner, it's time to look forward.
What we've got to do now is put our minds onto something in the future, focus on something different, so it literally cheers us up in a way. And now the outlook is that hopefully that the young ones will start mating this year, because they've got to the right age, and then 2 years down the line, there's no reason why we shouldn't have baby rhinos.
Amongst the treasures of Longleat House, there are many precious objects of historical interest. In fact, almost every item has a story to tell.
I'm in the Great Hall with house steward Ken Windus, and we're looking at this absolutely magnificent table, Ken. It's just the most extraordinary piece of furniture.
It certainly is, yeah. It's a shuffleboard table. They used to play the old game of shove 8-me on it.
Right.
It's 33 feet long.
Wow.
Originally, the planks were from one end to the other. It's just stretched from one end to the other.
So there would have been no joins in the planks at all?
There would have been no joins at all. There are joins in it now because obviously over the years it's been repaired, etc., etc.
And why was it important not to have any joins?
Well, obviously if you hit the coin,
it
needed to go as far as possible, which was the object of the game.
Okay.
And if there was a join, it would have probably either jumped the coin or simply stopped it, so it would have ruined the game.
So that would have been one tree, top to bottom?
That's right. It came from the estate. It was built from the estate timber.
What sort of wood?
It's oak wood.
Right.
It's built actually in the hall because it's too long to get through doors.
I was going to say, I mean, how on earth could you have got it in?
Yeah,
so it was built in here?
Yeah.
And presumably it has to be a permanent fixture now, you could never get it out.
We're, if you like, stuck with it being there. Which is a good thing in a way because it means that, it gets preserved.
Absolutely. And the design, just looking down at these parts here, I mean, is that... Because I would have thought, looking at it, that it was a banqueting table, that it wasn't a games table. Does this sort of give it away, this sort of design?
It does, because, of course, if you sat at it, you couldn't get your knees underneath because of the rails, etc.
Yeah.
These arches are actually an addition. They were put in probably 200 years ago.
Right.
But the
a bit modern, then.
That's right, a bit of modern stuff there, yeah. But the legs and the rails themselves are original.
It's just amazing piece of craftsmanship as well, isn't it?
It really is.
And these here...
These are the actual coins.
Right.
They're not actual coins that you would have spent. They're actually made for the game.
So they're sort of like posh tiddlywinks.
If you like, yeah. But they are silver.
Yeah.
And as you can see underneath, they're actually made aerodynamic. So that the actual rim is only the part that actually touches the table. And
so they could almost skim like a hovercraft.
That's right, yeah. I mean, you've seen these games at the fair, you can play that hover across the tabletop.
Yeah.
But you can see they're actually numbered, and each one has got a different number, as well as a different design, so that each player, of course, knew which piece was theirs.
Did you flick them like tiddlywinks?
No, if I can show you here.
Yeah.
You actually place them on the end of the table here.
Yeah.
Right, and you'd have hit the coin.
Yeah.
And that would have obviously projected the coin up the table.
Can I have a quick go?
I'm afraid not. I mean,
too valuable.
It is, yeah.
All right.
It's very tempting, I must admit.
It is, isn't it?
But no, the object of the game was to obviously get the coin as far as it could possibly go.
Right.
And with it actually falling off the table.
I can imagine it being quite an addictive game, actually.
Yeah, but there's a lot of money lost in one on it.
So people would bet on it. It would be like like playing poker or something like that.
Yeah. And I do believe that Henry VIII was into it.
Oh, really?
I think he really
so
got
it was very much a kind of aristocratic game,
exactly,
if you like.
Yeah. And I think there was a law brought out where they actually stopped the playing of it because a lot of people spent too much time playing it rather than working.
Well, I can see why I'm absolutely desperate to have a go. You're going to have to take me out of here, Ken, before I do. Thank you very, very much indeed. That is fascinating.
You're welcome.
Wow, look at that.
Back in Pet's Corner, one of the two baby otters has a mysterious problem. The pup is losing hair from the base of its tail, so now Darren Beasley has called in the vet Duncan Williams to take a look.
How safe is it for you? Not really, no. They're quite feisty. You haven't handled them? No, not at all. I mean, it looks like the outer hair loss, to be honest. It's just been over-groomed or rubbed on something. But it's just weird because it's localised just to the back end, and that we don't see them do it.
Catching and handling the baby would be extremely stressful for the youngster, and Duncan doesn't want to rush into drastic action. The first remedy to try is the simplest.
When they're out next time, is it possible to change all the litter? Yeah, definitely. We can do that. Yeah. Give it a really good clean, eh?
So, a little later, when the family is out, Bev Allen moves in for a spring clean to get rid of anything that might be irritating the baby's skin.
It's quite important to keep this nice and clean, just in case if they had lice or fleas or anything like that, you have to disinfect it out.
Bev's been watching the youngsters closely, and the baby's skin problem hasn't affected its behaviour at all.
They sort of come out with mum and dad, usually sort of talk for food to us, and then once they've had enough they go back in, and then when they want to come back out again they go back out. So, but they haven't been in the water yet, so we've still got to wait for that.
we've basically been monitoring the tail now for several days, and we had all the hair loss at the base of the tail, and we were going to grab the poor little baby and do skin scrapes and things, and in fact, it's got no worse, which is all good news. The baby's looking very, very healthy. It's eating, it's following mum and dad around, it's doing everything the other baby does, and we now actually think it's probably just a scruffy baby. They've got to be the most wonderful animals on the planet. They're always active, so cute. Hello, somebody say hello? Hello, how are you?
Kate and I have come down to Pets Corner with keeper Rob Savin to meet 3 of Longleat's 7 parrots. So who have we got here, Rob?
We've got Jake with you. Yep. I've got Cheeky Archie on my shoulder. And we've got Matilda with Kate there.
The one-legged Matilda.
She's showing off there.
I mean, is that a word? I mean, they do a sort of performance here, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And they are known for being incredibly intelligent, is that right?
Very intelligent. They do like to show off. And obviously they've all got characters. This one is particularly cheeky and naughty. He likes to get into everything and break everything. Matilda, she's a little bit of a boffin. She's a very intelligent bird. She's particularly quiet as far as, I mean, parrots are very noisy, but as far as a parrot goes, she's one of the quieter ones.
And this one here?
Jake, he's very thoughtful, he's very intelligent as well. I think they're all very, very intelligent, but they've just got different characters, and they do different things within the show. Matilda was showing off there. She's giving, I don't know if she'll give a little wave for the camera.
Does Archie say anything?
He does. They can all copy and mimic different noises, and it can be sometimes actions as well. Parrots can mimic all sorts of things, and Archie's got a nice hello. I don't know if we're going to hear it. Hello.
Oh, he has got a...
Sometimes we get a chuckle. Good boy. There we go. Matilda, well, not really any vocalisations. We might get a little wave again. We're going to try another wave, Matilda. Good girl. There we go.
And
Jake, he's actually
just very intelligent.
He's got a nice goodbye sometimes.
Has he?
Try it.
Oh, there we go. Very well timed, Jake.
Well done, Jake.
They are brilliant. Well, Rob, thank you very much. I think on Jake's goodbye, that is all we've got time for on today's programme. But here's what's coming up on the next Animal Park.
His real mother rejected him, so this little baby wallaby needs round-the-clock care and a substitute pouch.
Samba, the gorilla, is in her twilight years, and now she's fallen dangerously ill.
And Lord Bath dishes the dirt on his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. It's a tragic tale of skullduggery, murder, and a ghost with a broken heart.
So don't miss the next Animal Park.
Well, talking skullduggery, Jim Hacker's made it to number 10 and is given the power to press that button. And that's not the only horrifying discovery in Yes, Prime Minister, next.